Fógur beag RÍOMHPHOST muns guys, ní bhíon mé chur mór an rudí sús an seo ar an YouTube faoi láthair agus sin marall ghfuil ar Patreon inis agin. So I dúir inis agus dear na bliana ní bhaith beidir fí seán nó gáí seán ag dul sús an seo ar an YouTube gach mí a cháil ar an Patreon tá céir nó cúg fudcréil agus í seán difriúil ag dul sús gach seachtain. Seán na difriúlaach súla éistearíis, léiríis, topic breakdowns, episódí sa bhreis, te ghfuil go weekly, botú nó go agus freisin fí seán gaming le tráchtarat ghaeilge. So, má tá simad sa content sin agus na rudí sin is féidir that 7-day free trial a úsáid hall ar patreon.com/learnirishonline. Anis ará leis an íseán. Hey guys, Cé Coilsih fáilte arás week episode nua te ag Aistriú, and today as always looking at 6 sentences in English which I'm about to give you in just 2 seconds, and I'm going to leave you be for a while and do your best to translate them over. If you haven't watched much of Aistriú, I'd recommend going back to episode number 1 and 2. I talk a bit about the kind of philosophy you should take with these in terms of how long you should spend on them and the way you should go about them, and again, not just kind of having a quick guess and then rolling on to the explanation, but actually taking your time, pen and paper, going through it, using fuckler.ie and your notes and whatever you need as well, maybe after having a first go. Then you can kind of check them with what you think is right anyway online before we get to the actual explanation of what is the 100% definitive answer. And of most of these, there are alternative ways of saying them, so I'll try and bring up as many of the alternative methods or words or verbs or structure to the sentence as I can. Okay, so here are your 6 sentences for today. We've got, in order of what I think is easiest to most difficult, more or less: I never saw them. Will you give her advice? They had lost a few chances. We would leave a few minutes before then. Sean is the best fighter they had. And finally, he was asked, did he know anything else? He was asked, did he know anything else? Okay, so a good mix there of stuff in between the copula and the Sirvir and the Mokaniluk and irregular verbs as well. So hopefully that's quite challenging for you. Again, some of you, especially people that are only starting at a slightly lower level, 1 and 2 might even be very tricky for you. But even then, if you see 3, 4, 5, 6, even just kind of translate the 1 or 2 words you might know or have a guess. Or again, if you see something like number 4, the Mokaniluk, you don't have a clue how to do that, go and check out a video on that. I have a video over on the Learn Irish Online YouTube channel. It's the Made Easy number 1, I think, looking at the Mokaniluk, but there's a load of other videos and resources online to learn things like the Mokaniluk, the Sirvir, the copula, those kind of big ones where you just have to learn off in terms of endings or order, what are the main rules for them. Normally it's just 2 or 3 main rules, that's fine, each one, and then after that you can kind of memorize one sentence. Let's say for the perfect tense, tá an obair déanta agam, I have done the work, and then just always go back to that and the rules that you see in that, and they'll be replicated in any sentence with the perfect tense, for example. Okay, but anyway, let's get down with the breakdown of these. Ibrahim, guys, I never saw them. Ní acame iad riv. Ní acame iad riv. If you said near eachme or near jeachme or anything like that, that'll be incorrect. That's more so for watch or look. But when we're talking about see, ní acame iad riv. Equally, ní hunnic or near hunnic would be incorrect, because remember, there's a few of those irregulars that are going to change in the past negative. If you have a glance card, which is the best resource, because it's honestly, I think you can go from a point of knowing nothing in Irish all the way up to actually being fluent with spending very little money on it. But one of the very few things you should spend money on, and literally costs €5, is a glance card, as it has all the main common verbs, including all the irregulars, the 11 irregulars, as well as the preposition and a preposition chart at the top, and different rules for negative and positive. All the really important stuff in terms of grammar and basic grammar, and even more complex grammar sometimes, all literally on one card, one 2-sided card. So that'll be on there at the bottom in the little red box if you have it, in terms of which irregulars will change in the negative. Okay, so I'm hoping you already know, obviously, V to ni rao, so you can kind of forget about that because you already know it, let's say. So the main 3 that will change drastically are hunnic to niaka, for I saw to I didn't see, hui to niyaki, Okay, for I went to, I didn't go, and then rinne to niarna. Niarna me, I didn't do. Okay, so they all have that kind of y sound at the start. Niaka, niarna, niyaki. Okay, there are one or two others. Dorch as well, technically a tiny bit irregular, but not too much. And also for being nivor as opposed to with a shavu. So there are one or two of those, but in terms of ones that change completely and don't look anything like their positive form, you're mainly looking at honig, rinna, and hui. Okay, so I never saw them. Niakame Eid, Reeve. Okay, actually looking at it here in English, the way never works in English. We don't do it with the negative because we don't use double negatives, but we're going to have to here. If I said Honig me Eid Reeve, that would be I ever saw them. Okay, so we can never use Reeve in the positive, has to be either a negative or a question. Okay, so Niakame, I didn't see. Eid, again, remember it's not sheed because they're an object. So it's I saw them, essentially the exact same difference between they and them in English. Same for if I saw him, let's say, I'd say Honig me a or Honig me e for I saw her. Honig me who, that's one people forget. They try and say Honig me tu, but you need to put a shavu on it when it's an object pronoun for you, and then reeve at the end for ever or never. Okay, niach me eid reeve. No real alternative ways of going about that one. You could say niach me eid rivisha, that's I didn't see them before. So very similar, but still not quite right. Iver though, guys, will you give her advice? On dorhitu korla g. On dorhitu korla g. Right, so firstly we've got give. It's an irregular. So what I'm doing, here's the logic I'm going to use. Guys, okay, irregulars I just need to know kind of off by heart. What tense am I in? I've got will there, so I'm going to get the future tense. I can forget it's even a question for now, okay? I can put that on the back burner. Let's just get give in the future tense. So I will give would be torhi me. Torhi me, okay? Taurhi me, as you might hear it, and want to say it equally, okay? Depending on dialects. So torhi me, as I would say, okay, perfect. So how do I put that into a question? Fairly easy. Just put an on it, okay? We don't have to worry about air because it's not past tense or anything like that. So on, and then that's going to force an uru on. Don't worry too much if you've got the uru, not a big deal. And between the D and the T, you won't hear it that much. On torhime, on dorhime, not a massive difference. Okay. So in this case, it's will you. So it's on dorhi tu. And we need to remember give, guys. It works a bit differently to how we use give when we're giving something to someone. There's a kind of receiver, let's say in English. So we can see here in English, let's even just change it back to statement form. So it's really simple. I give her advice. So we basically say the verb to give with the person, and then we name the pronoun of who it's going to. But as Gaeilge, we need to do it as if it's in English. I give advice to her. I give advice to her. Okay, so we're always going to use the, essentially, when we're talking about receiving. We can't just say, on dorhi tu e corla. That's not going to work. I need to say, will you give advice to her? Okay, so that's just really a weird thing about English. It actually makes more sense. Kind of the will you give advice to her, or in other words, on dorhitu korla g. After that, it's simple enough. On dorhitu korla is advice, and then g to her. Okay, so again, you see, it's all about the few things that you need to know off by heart. The irregulars you need to know off by heart, guys, all 11 in their different tenses, the verb and noun, and maybe if you can as well, if you're a bit more advanced with the verbal adjectives, that's like jainta or tugta, for example. And on top of that, it's about knowing the big 5 prepositions, eg, le, do, and o off by heart, and how they change for each person. Knowing, okay, for her, instead of thinking, okay, it's dum, ditch, le, it turns into lehi for that one, so maybe it's g, kind of knowing, okay, it's dum, ditch, do, g, dun, tiv, dove. Simple as that. Okay, knowing it almost like a conjugation of a verb that you'd get in other languages. Okay, Iver 3, guys, they had lost a few chances. So unfortunately, if you said Kyle sheet, that'll be incorrect. That's they lost, simple past tense. But here, it's kind of past perfect or plusquam perfect, as it's sometimes called. They had lost a few chances. Vi couple chance Kyle aku. Vi couple chance Kyle aku. Okay, so anytime we're dealing with, let's say, I have done this, she has done this, we had done this, always start off with ta on number jaint agam, as I think I mentioned earlier, and this is handy for a lot of stuff in the language. With one big concept, just making one really simple sentence, like if you're talking about possession, just ta madra agam. And even if it's something really simple like that, it'll still have the exact same principles and the exact same fundamentals and makeup as you'll have for a way more complicated sentence. If you take possession, for example, tá madra agam, that's the exact same build or structure as a lot of people in Australia don't have enough money. It's the exact same. You have tá madra ag me, basically. So you have the possession is at the owner, therefore the possession, the tá, and then whatever. Anohin arrogance, enough money. Egg, nadini san astral, on quids mode, nadini san astral. It's the exact same. It's just tá x, egg y. Okay, and you're putting in x and y. So that's a very important idea in general in the language, guys, and very much here, tá on oberjainta agam is the one you want to remember. Whatever one's easier for you, but tá on something jainta agam I think is nice and easy. So tá on oberjainta agam is I have done the work. Remembering with the perfect tense, if I want to change that back to I had done, in other words, past perfect, it's going to be V. Okay, so we're just changing the tá to V, or we're changing whatever, if it's Neil to Nira, we're going back to the past tense. Okay, so V on oberjainta agam, I had done the work. After that, I'm just changing different words, essentially. So V on oberjainta agam, I could say V on ober cailse agam, I had lost the work. V cúpla chance cailse agam, I had lost a few chances. V cúpla chance cailse acu, they had lost a few chances. So I'm just changing words, okay? I'm not actually changing the structure of it whatsoever. So V cúpla chance cailse acu, they had lost a few chances. If I was saying they have lost a few chances, tá cúpla chance cailse acu. I'm just changing the verb. Okay? If we're cahir, guys, we would leave a few minutes before then. Dalcoch muids cúpla nómaid rivishin. Dalcoch muids cúpla nómaid rivishin. Few ways of doing would leave. There's 4 really altogether. So I can stay on the fog and do it the more Munster way, the fusion way. I can say dalcamish, which is perfectly fine. No difference really between dalcamish and dalcoch muid. Equally, I can use the verb imi, which is kind of to go out or to leave, okay? So I can say jamoch muj, or jamohamish for we would leave or we would go out, okay? After that, hopefully it's fairly straightforward again. If you're not sure about the Monkneiluk, check the video out over on Learn Irish Online YouTube. That's over there for free, or also available on learnirishonline.com. Okay, looking at the Monkneiluk, there's a PDF as well with the version on the website, which you don't get over on the YouTube. A few minutes before then, cúpla nómaid, remembering a few is going to be cúpla. I think some people, especially people maybe from the US, have trouble sometimes remembering that because they use a couple in English always for 2, from what I understand, as opposed to in Ireland where we use it just for, it could be indistinguishable amount. We don't know how many, a couple, a few. So they brought the same as Gaelga, cúpla. Okay, don't go using range or anything like that. That's more so several. Okay, cúpla nómaid, a few minutes before then, rive shin. We're not going to say riv on shin. Always for kind of before, general before, it's going to be rive shin or rive sho, depending on what time it's pointing at. So if I was saying, I've never been to Germany, ní raibh muid Gearmán rive sho. I've never been to Germany before. This implying before now. Hopefully that all makes sense. No other alternatives really in there. No. Okay, Iverkuig, Sean is the best fighter they had, or that they had. It'll be easier to think about it. Is a Sean on Truddy as far a V Aku. Is a Sean on Truddy as far a V Aku. So this is tricky. A lot of people will have got the order wrong for is. A lot of people will have said is Sean. A lot of people will have said is a on Truddy as far, or is on Truddy as far, or maybe is tá as well. So let's break it down, guys. What's our rules for is and tá? Let's forget about the V Aku. That's an add-on at the end. Doesn't matter what comes before that. It's not going to be impacted by what comes before it, so we can forget about a V Aku for now. Is a Sean on Truddy as far. If I want to say he is a boy, again going back to a very simple example, I start with is buchel a. Okay, again, if this is unclear, check out the video over on the YouTube, made easy number 4 or 5, looking at the copula. So I say is buchel a for he is a boy, or let's say is Truddy a to keep it on topic. He is a fighter. That may be a new word as well, coming from tridge for fight, or egg tridge for fighting. So is Truddy a. Then there's a lot of different kind of combinations here, because if I say he is the fighter, it then becomes is a on Truddy a. If I have the definite article at the end, so he is the fighter, it's always in the kind of is tá not debate, but litmus test, you're always looking at the end of it. Is there a noun? Yes, so it's is. Do we have definite article? Yes, so therefore it's is a on, whatever. Is a and Munzer a, he is the fighter. You could even drop the second a, is a and Munzer, let's say for now, for this one. But then, when we're naming the person, it gets a bit trickier. So if we think when we're naming the person without the definite article, Messi is a footballer, I'd say is Pellador a Messi. I basically say he is a footballer and I just tag Messi at the end. Okay, so you've got your base, let's say is Bukele, he's a boy. I can say is Bukele Messi, so that's the same thing, but when I'm naming him and I just tag the named person at the end. The other tract you can go on is essentially when you have the definite article, he is the boy, is saying Bukele. But what if both of them happen at the same time? If you're naming the person at the start, you're saying Sean is the best fighter. And on top of that, you also have the definite article at the end, Sean is the best fighter. So it's the most confusing thing you can have essentially in the copula, but the irony of it, it's going to be then the same order as in English. So all you have to do is you have to say isse at the start, which probably comes naturally because you have the article in there and you're naming him, and then it's the same order. So in English, Sean is the best fighter, so isse, Sean, an truddy is far. Sean is the best fighter. So when we're using the is and we have the definite article at the end and we're naming the person as opposed to just saying he is, whatever, like is a and truddy a, he is the fighter, we're going to keep the same orders in English and start off with is a. Okay, I know the copula is tricky, and a lot of people, to be honest, they won't actually ever learn this kind of rule, even people who learn it at an older age, who haven't learned it in Ireland or at school. But it's just from using it and hearing it more and more, it just sounds right. And that's a big thing in languages, not to worry too much about, I'll never be able to understand this rule. Yeah, maybe you won't. So sorry if that's a bit brutal, but maybe you won't, but maybe you'll be using it right all the time from just exposure and hearing it and using it. Okay? Is a Sean an truddy is far, that they had, essentially, remember that is mandatory in Irish, while in English it's optional. Like I said earlier, the best fighter they had, but I could have said the best fighter that they had, as Gaeilge we need it. It's going to be at, because it's after fighter. We're not going to use go would come after a verb, and then a viaku, that was at them, essentially. That's useful to know, because always, and again, in terms of have, something simple like tá madra agam, tá seansaku is easy, but then if it's in a different form, let's say the chance that they had, the chance that was at them, so on chance a viaku, on truddy is far a viaku, is a Sean, on truddy is far a viaku, Sean is the best fighter that they had. And then number 6, guys, almost there. Well done to anyone who got the last one, by the way, very, very well done, because that's far from easy. He was asked, did he know anything else? Curu kesh there, an rao ein rodella erola saga. So a lot of people will have maybe not known how to ask. You can also say fee for you for asked, that's fine as well, and the same order after that. A lot of people will have said on well is ega or maybe ma is ega or something like that, but really apart from the first bit, there's no real options here. Okay, so Curu Kesh there, a question was put on him, again going back to our base rules for Siri here. He was asked, we don't know who asked, and it was, so it's past Siri here, which is normally going to have the u ending. Sometimes pronounced uk as well in Munster, but let's pronounce it u for now. It's easier to distinguish from the Mucniluk, and that's how it'll be said in Connacht as well, where I'm from. So Curu Kesh there, a question is put on him, which is often the way we do ask, essentially. Curme Kesh there, who I ask them, I put a question on them. So easier probably than for you, but if you wanted to use fee for you, that's fine as well. Curu Kesh there, he was asked. And then for did he know anything else, guys, I've made it a bit easier by phrasing it like that. Often in English, it'll be phrased whether he knew anything else or if he knew anything else. But all those are the same. You just use standard question form. In other words, you translate it directly. Did he know anything else? As if it was just a standalone sentence. Okay? So, did he know anything else? We can't use an rao a is ega. Why not? Because we've got 3 types of no, basically, that we want to remember. We've got, let's say, tá sagam, simple first person present tense. That's for I know by itself, or I don't know. You know, tá sagam full stop, níl sagam full stop. Or also if I'm leading it on to a connector word, such as one of the question words or one of the go words. Tá sagam grau sé an seo, I knew that he was here. There's not a noun straight after it, so that's important for what I'm going to say in a second. Tá sagam cé a bhí leat, I know who is with you. Tá sagam cahan a dimishid, I know when they left. Okay, but when it's I know a noun, and then, for example, I know the song, tá an taran erolas agam, much better. Okay, tá an taran erolas agam, I know the poem, tá an dawn erolas agam, I know the place, tá an áit erolas agam. Here, anything else is still a noun, anything is a noun, so tá rud ag an eile, or in this case, sorry, ein rud eile erolas agam. I know anything else. I suppose you can't really use any in the positive, but then that gives you the structure to have it an rá ein rud eile erolas aige. Did he know anything else? Was anything else on information at him, essentially? Okay, so think about ní rá ein rud erolas aige, slightly simpler. He didn't know anything, and then you're just adding eile, and that's essentially it. Okay, and you're just connecting it to the start. Curú ceist there an rá ein rud eile erolas aige. Remember, the third no then, which we haven't encountered today, is for people. You're going to use aithne. Think of aithne as a noun of familiarity or recognition. Tá aithne agam Chean is your base sentence for that one. I know Sean. In other words, always think about the weird translations in English. I have familiarity on Sean. Okay, that's it, guys. Nothing else. A lot in there. Definitely the longest episode of Aistriú I've done, coming up on 21 minutes now, but hopefully it was useful. And any questions, as always, down below. Any feedback, let me know how you got on. Did you get one of them right? All 6 right? If you did, maybe cancel your membership. You've probably learned all you need to learn. No, I'm joking. There's a lot more advanced stuff than this coming up. But yeah, hopefully it was enjoyable. I know a lot of people, this is their favourite thing on the membership. So hopefully you learned something there and took something out of it. But Marash, Erinos Galua, Arish, Le Bugli Nismo, Aistriú, guys, Mila Buikas, Slán go fóill.